just to because I want to be able to just make sure like your audio is going to come through and everything. So I don't know. We're gonna see. I thought it might be, but then it's like, what the hell? Oh god damn it! All right, that's fine. We'll just leave that one, and I'll do YouTube here. Uh, sorry, I'm getting my tablets up just to make sure I can. Okay, should work. Can you hear me still? Okay, that's one. You know what? Let me see. Nope, couldn't hear you. So it's a good thing I started this now. Let me see. Maybe I can't do two? Oh, hold on. That's probably why. All right, now try and say something. Sorry. Say something. It's still not coming through. No. This is fucking weird. I can hear you, but I can't hear you coming through the stream. No, it's got to be something here because. Oh, hold on. One more page. It might be this. All right, now try to say something. Sorry, you're stuck.
Love is a two-way street.
Because let me make sure I can hear you. Yep, I can hear you perfectly there.
Okay.
Yeah, you know what the thing is like with because I'm still using OBS and
Mm.
it's weird. It with this audio capture. Let me turn this down so I'm not. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna play this really quick too, just to make sure this also comes through.
Am I saying
So
I'm saying don't let your daughter show her
you're not
ass cheeks?
showing your screen or your
What's that?
camera. So you're not showing you're just going to also use your
No.
hooptoast.com. Look, oh yeah.
Right now, all I'm showing is on my screen. It's my window that's showing my face,
Hmm.
and it's showing my the Twitter because that's where the video is. That I was going to. Oh, hey, look. You know what? I don't want that. So let me open this. Oh, cool.
What's up?
Somebody did say they would come on.
It's going to be three people.
Uh, I guess. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know this person. I don't want to say where where they came from or anything, but it's on this same topic. So I always promise anonymity. Am I saying that right?
Anonymity. Yeah.
Anonymity. Yeah,
Um.
there we go.
uh, uh, I didn't really quite get. I don't know. Like I tried opening up that thing you even sent me on Twitter, and and like that first one, I really didn't get. The second one, I was able to get that guy's other tweet or something, but that first one, I didn't understand exactly what was going on.
Oh, that's right. Because I
Um,
think I sent you another one that I said I might talk about too, and I completely forgot about it. Wait,
yeah,
did,
that
did I
that
send?
one I could see, but this just says about uh,
I
a
forgot
guy
what it
not
even
wanting
was.
a guy wanting to stay anonymous because of doxing,
Oh yeah, this one.
but it's
Okay.
at you.
Um. Oh, no. That's
Yeah.
not. It's no. You got to scroll up. It's a video, but I'm gonna play it here. So, because it'll get,
Oh,
you
okay.
know, it'll kill 2 minutes. So what the fuck? You know what I mean?
Well, you can get an honest reaction out of us,
Yeah.
or at least me. You've already seen it.
Yeah. Well, no, that's a good way to put it. And I gotta send her the link. Um. So let me send her the link to the stream. It's like so much stupid freaking prep work.
Yeah.
You know, it's just really. Oh, what am I doing? It's just like really like it's almost, and I haven't gotten it down to the point where I can set it up, test everything, make sure like the OBS is taking the internal video, that all that stuff because
Hmm.
it's like it's weird. I mean, of course I'm probably doing something wrong, but it's almost like OBS seems to cache all your previous settings. So it's like whatever you had set as a window capture, whatever you had set as an audio capture, this, that, and the other thing, even though they don't exist anymore, the browsers have been closed, reopened, refreshed. It's like it still shows them all the old ones. Do you know what I mean? If I'm making sense?
Yeah.
So it's like
Hmm.
I had like three of them in there that were like browser, Zoom, this, that, and the other thing. And I'm like, okay, let me click that. All right, that's not the right one. So I have to go through and figure out how to base. I think I might just have to actually blow all. Now that I know how to set it up, blow all
Hmm.
the captures out and then bring them back in when like just recreate them every time. Mm.
Yeah. Some
Oh.
it.
So all right. So
So are we
well,
live
here's.
now or no?
Oh yeah. It's live. It's been live. We've just been talking about
People are like,
nonsense.
"What are you doing?"
Yeah, let's just talk about not. I mean, hey, listen, it is what it is, right? So, the only thing is, if you're not watching, how are you going to be able to hear it, the video?
I'm watching.
Oh, you are okay.
Yeah, I just don't have my camera on because
Oh
yeah, I'm
no,
just
that's all
going.
right. Neither do I. So you know what? I'm gonna play the video then. So I actually haven't seen this whole video myself. I watched a piece of it, but to be honest, this is something that, like me and her, actually kind of talk about this a little. Not even talk about it. Like it's just something that we comment about when we see it, and that's why I actually didn't show this to her because I kind of wanted her to be able to watch it at the same time. So basically, the
Hmm.
context of this video is this woman at the beach, I guess, goes off on another woman because she's letting her 13-year-old daughter, from what I could take, run around in a like bikini thong.
Mm.
So basically, let me turn this audio down. So let me know if you can't hear me playing it. I wonder if I should just maximize it. Boop. Yeah, why not?
Around my 4-year-old son.
Blow everyone's ears out.
Am I saying I'm saying don't let your daughter show her ass cheeks around my 4-year-old son?
I don't hear anything.
Oh, maybe you didn't get to yet.
I don't see anything either.
Because she's a
I just see the
13-year-old.
logo with the devil riding a Harley or something. Actually, it looks like a Yamaha.
Wait, what?
I don't know. You're
What do you say?
Fuctos.com. Is that
Oh
just a little
no,
logo? And
no,
then
I'm streaming it on YouTube and Rumble.
oh, so I have to go over there to see it. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, you
I'm
want
not
me
gonna be able to
just
see
you
you
want
on
me to
Zoom.
just send you the link?
Yeah, do that. All right.
And
I thought I was.
fucking tablet, dude. It's pissing me off. All right, here, I'll send you the link now. No. I should figure out a way to stream off of there too, but I don't want to use that for that. There we go. Uh, how do I get this into a... Oh, there it is.
Kid, and I don't want her showing her.
Oh, now I see it.
Okay. Now you should be able to also hear it too. So, all right, let me start
Yeah,
this
I hear
over.
myself.
Yeah. So, all right, let me start this over. The music doesn't fucking help too. It'd be nice if there was just a straight video, like of just the.
My thing I'm saying, don't let your daughter show her ass cheeks around my 4-year-old son.
Yeah, I gotta shut off the video because I'm just
she's a
hearing double
13-year-old
all the
kid,
time,
and I don't.
and it's like
What?
3 seconds later. Well, I'll hear what you're saying in my headphones,
Yep,
and
yep.
then I'll hear it again 3 seconds later, broadcast live on YouTube, and I'll hear my own voice do the same thing.
Yeah, that's what happens when I'm like double checking the. Oh, I do have people watching on Rumble. So like that'll happen to me when I'm like double checking to make sure the audio's all working. It's like I'll hear the echoing of everything because I have 2 separate headpieces in, earpieces. Like one is going to this audio that I'm streaming, the other one's going to the pickup audio that's coming out from another source that's live. So and it's like I'll hear triples of things if I don't turn them all down. So all right. So do you want me to start this over?
Oh yeah, I didn't see it or hear it, but it's all right. I guess everyone wants to see the cringe again, whatever it is.
Oh, whatever.
Don't let your daughter show her ass cheeks around my 4-year-old son.
Go for it.
Let me know if you can't hear it.
Because she's a 13-year-old kid, and I don't want her showing her ass around my son that's 4 years old.
Okay, she's wearing a
So what kind of mother
swimsuit.
are you to let your daughter wear a thong and show her ass cheeks around a
She's
4-year-old
wearing
kid?
a swimsuit.
She's wearing a f***ing thong.
She's wearing a
Why are your ass cheeks
swimsuit.
hanging out? Is that a swimsuit?
All right,
Yes,
I kind of
it-
saw it now.
Okay, so you get the context.
I had to listen to myself talk over the video.
So, but you get the context of the video, right?
Yeah, I got it.
So
Seems
I'll
pretty
go-
standard.
Yeah. So now, how do you feel in like a situation like that? Do you think like
Who am I in the situation?
you're you. Like if you were there
Oh.
and watching this go down, as of right
So
this
watching
second,
the two of them go at it, or
Yeah, whose
am I
side-
one of those people?
No. You're a bystander. As if me
Yeah.
and you were walking around the beach with a Mike's Hard Lemonade, and we were like on a towel, or no, not a
Looking for
towel.
some entertainment.
Yeah, a
Yeah,
couple of
and,
towels.
and we saw
I mean,
we
unless
saw
it's a
that
big
unfurl.
towel. Yeah, then we could share a towel. I mean, we're too secure in our own sexuality, guys. We can share a towel.
We're too huge to fit on the same towel.
Yeah,
We-
even better. So you just got to snuggle up more. So no, but like we're just watching this. Like
Yeah.
whose side would you kind of be on here? The woman who's letting her 13-year-old daughter run around in like a bikini thong, or
Yeah.
this woman who's like, why the hell are you letting your 13-year-old daughter run around in that?
Yeah, well, you know how I am. In any given situation, both parties are going to end up hating me and thinking I'm
Yeah. No, I mean I'm the same way.
so because I'm a pain in the ass, I guess, when it comes to nuance,
Yeah.
whilst dissecting such events. I don't know. It's not like I would be very bemused. I think people end up reacting emotionally so quickly rather than just observing the way, let's say, a Zen Buddhist would, and just just kind of experiencing what you're experiencing in front of you. So the thing is, and I think Dave Chappelle brought this up in one of his comedy specials, like the first Dave Chappelle. I think it was like his third special or something. He talked about how old is 15 really? And so when you look on the timeline and the story arc or life arc of your average modern civilized human being, morals tend to get
Askew.
kind of resupified in a way that people start getting much more confused, and because we start digitizing the way we think, or we think that 18 automatically means you're an adult.
Okay.
And you and I both know that there's people that are in their 50s and 60s that never seem to grow up, and then we've all been around when we were going to school, kids that were 10, 11, 12, 13, and you're talking to them like you talk to a 35, 40-year-old adult. And then you take into consideration what, let's say, 13 means in a more quote unquote primitive society, right? And the connotations of what that all right gets very confusing for someone who was brought up in the civilized modern world, where 13 just seems like you're a baby.
Wait.
Or
So are we assuming that the person that we can't see who has the 13-year-old daughter is like from a less civilized society, possibly, or
no.
or are
What
we
I'm
just
saying
or
is
are we just
like
gauging is this happening like 100 years ago or 100 years
no.
from
Well,
now?
what I'm saying is when we're looking for moral absolutism,
Mm-hmm.
things get murky. Is what I'm talking about. So it's like we need to take certain things into consideration,
Yeah.
and I think sometimes people feel a sort of initial disgust by the behaviors of others due to what would be deemed appropriate in their world. You understand what I mean? So there's things that can be situationally inappropriate,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's things, or perhaps bordering on immoral. And again, this is up for debate, of course. And then there's things that would seem universally immoral or uncouth, if you will. Do you kind of see what I'm driving at?
Yeah. Actually, the other guy just came in. And his name is Author. So, are you able to hear us?
Yeah, I'm not sure if you can hear me, but I
Oh,
can
I
hear
can
you
hear
just
you.
fine.
I can hear you
Yeah, I
perfect.
can hear you. Yeah,
Cool.
you sound
That's you on the phone here.
So,
you sound better than Mr. Evil, who was the host of the
most people do.
the show.
Well,
Cool.
I had to switch mics, so it's kind of I'm using a different one because I just couldn't get my goddamn JBL to work still. So I'll fiddle with that another time or repurpose it. But so this is Author, and um, he was gonna come into. I don't know how much information I would or he would want to give on the topic, but I did talk to him about it kind of a bit, and so honestly, if you were, well, let me put it this way:
Well,
if you were,
I just think when in Rome, act as the Romans do. Like why
yeah,
go out of your way
I
to
get that too. Why go out of your way? But I'm assuming this is going to be here just by the dialect and things like that. And
Oh yeah, no, I know. And
if
that's
it
why we
was,
take it into context.
yeah, and if it was,
Yeah.
would you, if you had a 13-year-old daughter, would you let her go out and run around like on the beach in like a bikini thong?
No, no, I think that might have been why you asked me if I wanted to comment because
Yeah.
I felt like that was definitely, but the thing, we couldn't really see, or didn't see in the video that they showed the girl. So,
No,
I
I
don't,
was wondering that too. And to be honest, I'm 50-50 on whether or not I'm happy that they didn't. You know what I mean? Or whether we should have been able to see
yeah,
what that circumstance was.
yeah. So, but that just brings up the second point was no, of course I wouldn't want my daughter to be in a bikini thong. I would at 13 I would want her to be pretty modest, if it was my kid. But the second point was she didn't show the daughter.
Hmm.
So I almost felt like this whole thing was like scripted by the person with the video. Like
Oh.
it's not like they were all actors, but she purposefully like knew she was filming something to provoke a reaction for to be able to post it later and be like, "Oh, I filmed this bitch criticizing my daughters,"
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And that's what at first that's what I totally got from it. I was like, like the lady sitting down, I think even asked, she was like, "Just go away, leave me alone," and it was like, this chick like is literally trying to provoke a reaction. Sure, I get it. Maybe she's pissed off that the other chick criticized her daughter's swimsuit, but not the phone, filming somebody, arguing with them to provoke a reaction, and then posting it later. I think that she had ulterior motives to it. And I think it's kind of obvious from the way that the whole thing was. Like, I don't really think it was about, if it was maybe a second bystander that filmed it, the dialogue between the two of them, that would be maybe something different. But I feel like this lady specifically filmed it to provoke action
Yeah.
and then post it for reaction later, which I
I
think
think
is
this is
not only is it shit, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I think you're onto something there. Where I think this is very much akin to the gym thought wave that has kind
Yeah.
of, if you're familiar with that, where these
Yeah,
usually young
totally.
women, yeah, will go scantily clad to the gym and stick their privates in the faces of men trying to work out and put them on film and try to
Try and catch them.
catch them. Yeah. When they glance over and are like, "Am I on camera? Like, is she filming? Like, what's going on?" And
Yeah.
then they say that he's some feral creature. Yeah.
Well, did you see the one recently of that? Actually, not to stay on that subject or change it, but where the guy,
It's just a parallel.
yeah, where the guy actually went off on the girl, and he's like, "Look, like, stop getting me in your camera shots." You know, she's like trying to say he's looking at her, and he's like, "I'm not looking at you. I don't want to be in your camera. I'm here to work out. Like, we're all here." He was basically chastising her, and it made sense. We're all here to work out. We're here to do our thing. We're not here to be in your videos. You know,
Yeah.
and it was like she was trying to make him the bad guy. I think most people actually sided with him, which I mean, definitely I would have too. But yeah, no, I never actually looked at it at that sense that possibly she was looking. The only reason too is like I recently actually had this happen to me. I'm not sure if I remember telling you this story, and it was only like a couple weeks ago where I actually had somebody pull a camera phone out on me because I legitimately was going to rip their heads off. Like, and I'm a pretty mild tempered person, um, but I got in a situation where uh, I kind of, just to make the long story short, I kind of live in an area where there's a main road and people will drive like assholes. And these two cars that were racing, like, literally could have killed somebody. And there were other circumstances as to why I ended up following them, but it just turned into an altercation. And there was a young guy and a young girl, and the girl came out and started filming me screaming. And the funny part was there was a cop in the next parking lot watching everything go down. And afterwards, he came out to talk to me, and he said he was just laughing his ass off the whole time. And she was recording me. So I mean, they could just pull. It's so easy to pull the phone out and just start recording. So yeah, she could have had an ulterior motive, but then at the same time, we don't see a lot of what happened before. The video could be cut, so maybe there was some kind of altercation. But there's one part in the video too that I kind of wanted you to hear, and I don't remember which part it comes in, where she makes a comment about something, and whether or not that, and I think author's gonna know what I'm talking about. Whether or not she legitimately meant it in the most literal sense or in a figurative sense, or it came out right, I don't know that, and I don't know whether it was the right thing to say, but I don't honestly think it was the wrong thing to say either. And I don't know, author, do you know the part I'm talking about?
Are you talking like towards the end where she was like, if
Sorry.
my
What?
kid rapes your daughter when he grows up or
Yeah,
something, it's
yeah.
not going to be my
Basically,
fault? Or she
basically
said
that.
something like that that I was just like, oh.
Yeah, it might have been
Yeah.
harsh. But
And I thought the same thing. I was like, whoa, that's crazy. I guess so. I have a couple thoughts on that. I was like, well, first of all, the lady filming it pretty much provoked her into really reacting harshly because at that point she was ready to put her kids away and literally get in a fight with this lady because she was continuing to film her and argue with her. So
Mhm.
she was provoking her, and so she was going to put her kids away and fight her. So at that point, she was obviously really worked up. And at that point, I don't really think it's fair to hold people accountable for things they say because they're just like they're off their rocker. They're like, I'm gonna kick your ass. Here it comes, you know.
Oh yeah.
And so I don't really think it's fair to like hold her to that. But I think that it sums up her feelings is that you know she's trying to protect her son from uh sexualization of women. And he's a young boy. She doesn't want him seeing porn. She doesn't want him seeing girls doing strip tease, stuff like that. And granted, it's another young girl, but she's in a thong. And that was the whole point of it, is that she felt the other girl was wearing too revealing of a swimsuit, and she doesn't want her son to be exposed to that. And the reason why was because she doesn't want later on in his life him to have the wrong thoughts and feelings towards women because she understands that that creates that kind of negative back and forth between men and women. You know, women show their skin, men begin to objectify them, they dehumanize women, and they mistreat women, and it's kind of like a back and forth, awful, vicious cycle. And she doesn't want her kid to be exposed to that, especially not at 4.
Yeah.
So I think that, you know, obviously he's not going to rape anybody at 4. She doesn't want him to rape it.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
But I think that's where that came from.
See, I kind of thought, me personally, too, that's a really good perspective. I actually didn't go that far into it. My first initial reaction was sort of like a tough lesson, like tough love. Her saying like, look, if you know later on in life my son rapes, so which actually is the way you just said everything really positions well into like I guess you know they kind of link up is that look, you're putting your daughter in a position to where she thinks the way she's dressing is okay, and it's a very very scary world out there, especially for girls, especially for young girls, and you don't need to sort of position or push her into being a target for somebody that might want to take advantage of her or do something to her later in life. So it's like I think when she was saying like if my son you know later on rapes your daughter, because she said something along the lines I think of you know like you're going to be partially to blame or something along those lines to her, or she's not going to blame her son,
Yeah.
or there was something along those lines she said. I don't remember. That's why I wanted to go reach through it. And there are certain aspects of like parenting today where, and I talk about this a lot with my other buddy who comes on, where parents, and I'm not a parent, so maybe that's you know benefits me to say things like this or it restricts me, but I really think parents today kind of suck. They're too busy trying to be their kids' friends. They're not trying to be disciplinarians anymore. They're not trying to raise. You know, we have this me and my buddy.
Yeah, that's a really
Yeah, we have like a running joke where it's like every time there's a school shooter, the FBI shows up at the house. They open up the kid's door, and the kid's room is just a massacre of you know like everything that would need to be had for orchestrating a school shooting. And the first thing the parents go is, "Oh my God, I never knew. I had no idea." It's like you don't go in your kid's room. Like what the fuck are you doing, you dum dum? Like you know you're to blame for this just as much as they are at this point. And if she's gonna push her daughter into acting and being like this, and being a target for you know degenerates, it's like you're gonna be partially to blame for what happens to her. That's the way I saw it. I don't know. How do you feel about it, like Doomer?
Well, it's kind of a precarious situation as a parent, right? Because you, and I don't speak as a parent either, but you, especially most fathers, I believe, want their daughters to grow up a conservative woman, whether those daughters, I think, yeah, there may be some, I guess, on the extreme left that kind of pathologize their parenthood,
Mm-hmm.
but and kind of fetishize it, so
Yeah, like
it turns
vicariously.
into some sort of paraphilia.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we also know women like bad boys. They like to rebel against their fathers, things like this. Generally speaking, in the modern society, because a lot of that too. Yeah, you can say there's biological reasons for these triggers, but at the same time, much of it is pumped into them, I believe, through the schools and the media and what have you. Their parents, just generationally, because each generation kind of forgets, right? Suffers this amnesia. It's kind of this slow amnesia over time that happens through the parade of generations. So you're put in this predicament where you want to, and I think if you can raise a daughter to the point where you can tell them, like, listen, this is your life. I can't stop you really from doing anything. I mean, while you're under this roof, I can like set up the rules best I can. But if you're hell bent on just making my life hell, making your life hell, making everyone's life hell, I can't stop you, and I'm not going to let you ruin everyone's life just because there's some kind of itch in you that I can't really see what I had to do with. Maybe something in my genetic line. Maybe there is some deep-seated type of subliminal messages I've been sending you without being aware of it. But it's so you kind of want to maybe be at the point where you have great communication with your 13-year-old. So you could say, like, these are kind of the choices you have ahead of you. And as someone who's watched this, who's been your age, who watched people grow up, that you can take this path, and this is probably what you can expect from it. And I have, example A, this friend of mine, example B, this friend of mine, example C, this celebrity, whatever, right?
Yep.
And then you can take this path, and this is more likely. So do you want to gamble? What's valuable to you? And I think the sooner you can kind of talk to your children as adults, and take on that responsibility and not leave it up to the internet or to the schools or other parts of the community that you may not have control over. I don't know if what your question exactly was. You asked what was on my mind. I think that was just what I was thinking. That it's just kind of sad that there is this, because again, if we go into, let's say, an Amish community where it's a little more tribal and a little more old fashioned, you aren't going to necessarily have these types of debates or questions pop up just philosophically. I don't think they would really resound very far within one of those types of communities like the Mennonites or Amish or what have you.
I mean, in the grand scheme of things, if we were in an Amish community, the bitch would be getting yelled at because she's on the beach and showing like her ankles and shaving her armpits. You know what I mean? So yeah, it does become relative, but at the same time, I think there's also, like, to me, I think we all have an in latent, feeling to know when you're pushing a line almost, and to when things become possibly dangerous or. I think that's just there. So it's like, yeah, we can look, there's a such thing as a too extreme in either direction. You know what I'm saying? And I think that, like, people are starting to, I'll say this, like, previously, we lived in a town or a city or whatever the fuck you want to call it, where me and her used to complain about this all the time. And sorry, author, but just, butt in anytime you want. Seriously, don't wait a turn. So dude, from this day that we moved in there and started walking around, we were like dumbfounded at how these, like, tween and early teen girls were walking around the town like dressed like prostitutes. And me and her both, and we're not super conservative people by any means, but we're just like, who the fuck, like, who is letting their daughter leave like this? Like, this isn't a thing where they, like, were obviously wearing something else, snuck out and changed. Like, they left the house like this. And, you started to meet the people in the town and you realize, yeah, they're trash. But the thing was, it's like, I remember one day, me and her were driving around, and this was like, not, it was like 1 in the afternoon. I forgot why but we were on one side of the town, and we saw these 2 young girls, probably couldn't have been more, if I'm being generous, at 14 tops. That's generous. Dressed like, like tube tops and really high shorts. Just like, I'm like, look, you're too young. Don't be dressing like this. And like a 30-year-old dude slowed down, honked the horn, and started saying something to the 2 of them, like, provocative. And then he looked over because it was like oncoming traffic between the 2 of us. And then he looked over and saw the look on mine and her face, like, what the fuck? And dude, I never saw somebody take off so fast. Like, he was like, oh shit, I've been caught. I'm going to end up on the list. And he took off. And I'm like, who knows if it was a different time of day or a different place, one of these girls could have ended up, and granted, they could be wearing, jogging pants and dirty sneakers. It could still happen, but I think you set yourself up to be more of a target in a situation like that. One of them could have gotten fucking kidnapped, ended up in the, I don't want to go too deep into it and turn it into something overly morbid, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, this has been a big problem, and sorry, I'll let authors speak too. I don't want to hog the mic, but this is also a big problem. Like, and as you know, I spent a great deal of my life in Sweden.
Yeah.
So there's a huge problem just walking home in the Swedish suburbs of, like, let's say Stockholm or whatever, and that there would be these gang rapes, but
Yes.
all the time of like, a group of guys hiding in the bushes waiting for a drunk, scantily clad woman to be walking alone between the kind of like island apart like the apartment buildings kind of are in little clusters like
Yep.
islands in the forest, if you know what I mean, and then there's
Yes.
these parks in between and you walk from like the high rises to the high rises. And this is where these take place most of the time, and you don't hear like about them at all in the mainstream, but everyone knows, like, has a cousin or a daughter or someone that this has happened to. Like, everyone knows somebody, and it's terrible. Like, you don't want anything like this to happen. You'd be pissed off if this ever happened to your daughter, your girlfriend, your mother, right?
Mhm.
Um, and if rightfully so. At the same time, why are so many young Swedish women walking alone in the middle of the night, drunk, and coming back from the club, and it's just it again, like both sides. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Have their points. So you have the people. Yeah, sorry.
No,
Go
no,
on.
no. I was just gonna say, I wanted to ask you a question because you would generally have the firsthand knowledge. It's like the stuff when we talked about with Ukraine. Um, but like I always was under the interpretation from reading that a lot of those were done by migrants coming into the country. Now, I'm only asking you not to like either just to get the legit truth, like you were there. You know what I mean? So,
Yes, yes.
so
Um,
was that
that
true?
that was
Was it
yeah,
embellished?
that was generally the case.
It was
And people
okay.
don't want to talk about it. Understandably so.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Well,
that was
but that leans into this too because now we're an author again. Jump in, dude. Don't wait your turn. just jump in. That goes too
Yeah.
with a lot of stuff that's going
Really
on.
talking. So, it it's just it's interesting that I got pulled into this on this particular thing because I was a little bit more liberal leaning early in my life,
We all were.
and as I kind of realized, oh, wait a minute, that doesn't actually work in the long run. Now that I'm older, I can see that, and I'm frustrated because I was so rebellious when I was young, and some way I feel like I was rebellious. We're good, and other ways not so much. So I'm kind of, I like. I'm a lot older, but I smoke weed like a freaking uh I don't know, like a smoke factory. But
Don't worry. That's what we'll all
I'm
be doing
very
tonight.
against uh, porn and prostitution. Um, Even maybe I'm more intolerant of that than your average conservative,
Hmm.
because I think it really does do a lot of damage in society, and I don't think people understand the ways that it damages society because um, we're we're some people think we're more than men and women, but I will just say we're pretty much men and women, and but we don't completely understand each other, and I think that it's taken advantage of, and so men and women kind of are combative over things without realizing how they really even work, because a lot of our society kind of does that to us and leads us off on tangents because it makes them money,
Oh
but
yeah.
where we don't realize what's really going on, and this is one of those major issues where I think a lot of times women don't understand how sexualization is like related between men and women. Like in this video, I saw a lot of how the commenters were like, "Oh, it's not."
Oh shit. Ah, I just lost the connections. Stay on. I'm gonna send another. Oh, gotta set this back up. What the fuck? Sorry, getting everybody back in. Okay. That stinks. All right, so anyway, hopefully everybody gets back in here. And hopefully I'm not going to have to set up the audio again. I don't think so. Well, you know what? Maybe until they come in, back in, I will play more of this.
The swimsuit. Okay, that's your problem and your son's problem. So take your son and go somewhere.
Get out of here. Like, it's my problem. It's gonna be your problem right away.
Okay.
Your video's gonna do anything.
Okay.
You know me or where I live. So what's your
Okay.
video gonna do?
Okay, that's for my safety. I'm doing video for my safety.
The only thing your safety is gonna show that you're a fucking shitty mother that's letting your 13-year-old daughter
Okay,
do her ass.
that's your opinion. That's totally fine.
Fuck off now.
Oh, why should I?
Or knock you out, and then what are you gonna do? What is your video gonna do then? Is your video gonna help
Oh
you?
my God.
Wait, let me get my kids ready, and then I'm gonna fucking knock you out. Just stay there, kid.
Okay, okay.
You know, I'm really going to probably lean with at this point with author, and I think the woman recording is trying to overly antagonize.
Okay, I'm just going to call the
I think there
police
was
or...
something else
I'm sorry that you told you.
that started this. Uh-oh. Maybe I actually lost them both. Let's try this again. Oh, that was weird. Hey, all right. You there, author? Oh, it doesn't show you having a mic. Oh, now it is.
Can you hear me?
Yep, now I can. Yeah, I just sent. You know what? I think what happened was, well, the meeting ended. I just used the free Zoom. I'm gonna think of something else to use.
Okay. Yeah, sorry about that. I don't know what happened. That's cool. Yeah, I thought I had just assumed it was a free service. I didn't know it was gonna do that after or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how it works really.
No, it's Zoom. That's why. And you know what? I feel like this is the best. Oh, here's Doomer. I feel like this is the best way also to keep things for everybody like really anonymous.
Yeah, no, it's a great service. I like it. All I needed was an email, which I already have set up for my business, so that worked just fine.
And I don't see your email. I don't see anything about you. You know, you just plug in a name and whatever you want.
Nice.
Yeah,
that's
I was
perfect.
just saying. I was playing a little more of the video, and I think I kind of lean in towards what you were saying a minute ago too, about her antagonizing this woman to get a reaction, and possibly wanting to be able to record it because it does seem that way.
Yeah. What I was saying, yep, it does. That's what I got out of it completely. But what I was saying earlier before I got cut off was that I don't know if you're going to edit this later, but
no.
Anyway, what I was saying was that I have a lot of interest in this because I've known some girls locally where I live that have been trafficked, and
really?
So but like soft traffic to where they're not they're not kidnapped and forced into a trade. They're basically targeted. Then they become addicted to drugs.
Mm-hmm.
And then whoever controls the supply of drugs, in a sense, pretty much controls them. And then through manipulation and coercion, gets them into trades and things that they wouldn't like. But what I was saying earlier is a lot of the commenters on the feed were saying, oh, you know, it's terrible that men objectify women, but it's a back and forth thing because and that's why a lot of cultures, like all the Muslims, have the hijab, whatever you call that thing,
Yeah,
you know, over the woman's head.
Yeah.
And a lot of other cultures, like you mentioned, I've always called them Amish, but Amish or whatever they are, you know, like they're very careful about, you know, like they're very careful about showing a lot of skin because they understand how that actually stimulates men and how it can change things, you know, because you start thinking about maybe an encounter instead of directly about how you're relating with the person one-on-one, you know. I don't know if I'm explaining that right, but
you are.
You know, like a conversation instead of sexually. And that, you know, when you see more nakedness or whatever, that can sometimes, and generally with men, can be more stimulating. Men, they use it to sell shit all the time. They use sex to sell stuff to men.
Mm-hmm.
And so women, when they are scantily clad, it affects men more. And I just noticed how a lot of people are like, oh, you know, that's the guy's fault for feeling that. But that's a very American thing. In a lot of other cultures, it's like, hey, no, you know, that women shouldn't be so, you know, unclad. And so there is a difference there between different groups of people, you know, like some people feel like, hey, you know, my girl wants to wear a thong, fine. And other people are like, no, dude, that girl should be in a one piece, if, you know, not something fuller. And that's just the way it is. And I think it's really important that people, you know, can figure out how to deal with each other in different ways. But that's why I felt like this was more than just whoopsies and a thing. I was like, this lady was trying to provoke what she already realized was like a difference between her and others in order to kind of make herself look whatever. Like she said she was filming to protect. Yeah, she said she was filming to protect herself, but the lady was sitting on the ground and all she did was criticize her daughter's swimsuit. So what did she need to do? What does she need to protect herself from? You know, like
that's something people say.
What could possibly?
No, that's because when I just did. Sorry, not to cut you off. When that happened to me, like I said, when I was telling.
No, go ahead. I was running my.
No, you're fine, dude. Trust me.
Okay, cool.
But I was gonna say, like, yeah, no, I agree with you too. Where different cultures have different standards of what's appropriate, but I also don't feel like, even as men, no matter how we feel, we should be able to tell a woman how to dress. But then at the same time, there's a big difference between talking about a woman, a grown woman, and, you know, like an adolescent girl, and how the parents might not be looking at it correctly. But people will just record because they want to get that viral video, or they'll say, like, I'm just recording for my safety, because that's what the person in the other car, it turned out, I thought it was a guy. It was just a very masculine girl, I guess, came out and started recording. And she was like, sir, I'm just recording for my safety. And I was like, bullshit, because you didn't give a shit about your safety 5 minutes ago when you were driving the wrong way up the fucking opposite lane of traffic. So, yeah, don't give me that shit. And it's like, you're not recording for your safety. You're recording because you think you're going to get that that reaction that's going to get you, like, viral fame. And just I'll stop here, though. But the way you were talking about, you know, different cultures, too. I just noticed, actually, playing the video this time, it never really occurred to me, but the woman recording is obviously foreign of some sort. She has a very strong accent. So, yeah, maybe she's from a culture or whatever where that's, like, fine. I don't know. It's like, yeah, let your 13-year-old girl go out and, you know, thigh highs and a mini skirt. You know, it's fine, you know.
Yeah, it's different all over the world. But like you said, like that viral shit, some people do it to make profit off the viralness, and other people do it because they get a thrill out of social justice.
Yes.
Because it validates their partisanship.
Yeah.
You know, like they might be very sided in one way, and if they can provoke a reaction and then film it and get, you know, kind of like that social justice rise out of it, like, oh, let's go kick this person's ass.
For more
Then
information,
they can kind of feel validated in their partisan beliefs, and it's something that, like, I really don't think that our society has kind of taken that turn with social media and a lot of, you know, more interconnectedness, which is good in some ways, but that in that way, I think it's kind of dangerous because people can be really. That's why I like literally wanted to be anonymous, because people can be really shitty these days, and it's really accepted in society. You know, like,
Oh
there
yeah.
were people on that were very harsh in both either ways. They were very harsh towards the people in the video, which I was like, wow, you know, like I don't want to be a part of this actually, because fucking some people are like fucking crazy about it, you know.
Well, you know, it's
So,
funny. Oh, sorry. Go
author.
ahead.
Oh yeah, no, I was just
No,
gonna say
yeah.
you mentioned validation. I thought that was kind of interesting because I saw all these things tied together. I was just gonna ask you because it's something I've noticed, and especially with things like the prank culture and people just wanting to just do anything and have no shame
Oh
when it
yeah.
comes. Or what's this thing these women are doing now where they're like kind of fail bragging on TikTok? Do
Yeah.
you know what I'm talking about? I'm not quite
Oh
sure
yeah.
the vernacular for it. Um, but it's like humans are being rewired, and now from the like Gen Alpha is going to have that. Like they're just going to be raised on these tablets on the internet, like not being able to interact. And but this that people are bankrupt, that they are willing to be so desperate for this validation. Do you think this it plays in to everything that you were talking about as far as the sexuality of, like, so these children, right? The easiest way every woman knows when she is growing up, it takes her a little second to learn, right? But she understands that, oh, I have this body and it attracts
Yeah.
things, right? And I have power and I can use it to manipulate people to get my way. And that's dangerous to put in the hands of someone that's not stable and that is desperate for validation. Do you see where I'm going with
Yeah.
this?
Yep. I think it can be bad for both sexes, like not just women, but
Absolutely.
like when you were saying earlier about this, I don't know the name of it, but there was this, it was recent. I just saw it on Twitter, and it was this dude, and he was like literally he's like famous, and he creates like YouTube videos, and he was just like talking trash to a guy and provoking him, and he got the guy to like literally react, but he had like two big fucking bodyguards
Oh,
sorry for my like
nope. I know
big
exactly who you're
bodyguards
talking about. I saw that.
it was, yeah, just a couple of days ago. It was circulating on Twitter, and I saw that, and I was just like, wow, I don't even know who this guy is, but what how lame is that? You know, like, you have bodyguards with you, and you go and you piss people off just to provoke a fight, so your bodyguards will waste them. Like,
Jump
that
in.
is, yeah, like,
No,
Serious.
that's a new thing that's come around. A lot of younger, like, influencers are doing that now. It's like they go
yeah,
in and they antagonize somebody, but then a bodyguard just comes out of the wing like, "Hey man, no, you can't touch him. You can't touch the mic. Hey, don't make me drop you." And it's just like eventually it's going to come to the point where they're going to mess with the wrong person. That bodyguard's not going to make a difference. And I honestly hope it does, because I think people need to find out sometimes the hard way. That
Well, what happened?
Yeah.
You saw that? So what was it, in South America or something? But it was a white guy that just ended up in. There were some protesters blocking traffic, and he just walked out and shot.
Yes.
like
Yeah.
them. Just
No,
so-
he wasn't white. He was from that country. He was.
Oh, he was.
Uh-huh.
So with the great, he had a white beard though,
White
right?
beard, yeah.
And a pretty pale face, but yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
yeah, he's just over it. He's like over it. He didn't care anymore. He's like, I'm done with this. And he's just
Yeah.
like, I couldn't believe it. I was like, whoa.
You know,
Yeah.
I know it's a bad thing to say, but Like, especially in those circumstances where people are, interrupting the regular flow of society, it's going to be bound to happen. And I'd hate to say it, but until that stops, I almost hope, not maybe to that drastic of a measure, but people need to get their asses kicked. You know, it's, I, you can't do things like that and expect no repercussions. But like author said before, we've gotten into this idea with society now where you could just be an asshole and it's okay. And it's just like
Yeah.
you'll go online. It's same thing with like a situation like we're talking about with this video. It's like, you could be a peed, a complete and utter peed, but you will find vindication in yourself because you can now go online to places like Twitter or even YouTube. Me and Doomer talked about this on one of our old podcasts and stuff, I think, where it's like they're using these social media apparatus to keep in contact with each other. And you're talking, going from like that one guy back in like the 50s, he was that one creepy guy in the neighborhood, to now a million guys in a million neighborhoods all over the world, basically just explaining to each other why it's okay that they are the way they are. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
people now find justification to be pieces of shit. And what's that thing Mike Tyson said?
Yeah.
Social media has made it so you can talk shit without having to worry about getting punched in the face.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly.
Yeah.
And
It
I think about
justifies gang kind of. That's why, like, you get that thing where people are like, oh yeah, gang, and it's like your crew, who are you
Yeah.
with, your group, and it I think it's kind of, I think it's really unchristian and unethical because it produces more, it does two things. It's like it makes people more judgmental of each
Mhm.
other instead, even though you don't really know, it's not judging things that happen, but who people are.
Mhm.
Like, oh, they did that shitty thing, so they must be a shitty person, which that doesn't really work like that. And then they're also like, they're not only judging who people are, they're 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 really misunderstanding things by uh living for whether or not they how people perceive what they do instead of what they actually do. So instead of
Yeah.
like trying to do the right thing for the sake of doing the right thing, it's doing things for the sake of seen doing things.
Yes.
So you don't not do something because it's bad. You don't do something because you might get caught seen doing it.
Yes.
And between these two things, I think this whole change is like kind of designed to be really corrosive to society, and I think it's like kind of unethical, and I say it's not very Christian too, but that's kind of a separate topic. But I don't think it's very good.
No. Well, it's interesting how technology kind of exposed the underbelly of the beast, right? It just like turned our shadow selves back on ourselves, and like the worst parts of us became reflected upon us. And so it's like, I think people have very little faith in legacy media now and legacy politics, right? And a lot of that is, I think, come because of the exposure to ourselves online, and we realize that the world is an act. It's theater, and this is all here for entertainment and to profit off of, and perhaps get a little power. The other point I wanted to make to kind of drive home your theme, a couple things, was like this also. You were talking about people being trolls or just being really mean, not getting punched in the face, not having any repercussions. And I wonder, very often we know growing up that kid that didn't get, like, whose parents ignored him, always ended up acting out, right? And just wanted to get in trouble just to feel that human connection, right? Just I'd rather have daddy yell at me than like not pay attention to me at all. And I wonder if being raised by this technology and feeling so isolated and having the parents working full-time jobs and what have you, both parties, and the kid being outsourced to school and after extracurricular activities and what have you, that they're acting out in this way by going online or just becoming part of that culture that now just looks to destroy everything or get people's goats, if you will, to use kind of a lower vernacular. Uh, but they say like fame ain't what it used to be nowadays.
Hmm.
Are y'all still there? Or
Yeah. No, I'm listening.
oh, okay, I wasn't sure. I hope I didn't lose you. So like, so that the celebrities, so these people that work around the rich and powerful, some of these psychiatrists and what have you, if you listen to them, they talk also about how social media has changed. It's given us more celebrities, but also the people don't treat their celebrities the way they used to, where they kind of came with the good, the bad, and the ugly. Where now it's like all they want to do is put every little detail of your life underneath a microscope and get a gotcha,
Yeah.
and then try to blow it up, make it viral, and just embarrass you to the point that you're suicidal. And that's what being a celebrity is about these days, where it was a smaller part of being a celebrity in the older days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Where the people are basically using it as a tool to sort of like, it's almost like you build somebody up, and maybe I'm misunderstanding it, but like you're building somebody up, you're behind them just so you can wait for that one particular moment, like you said, where you got a gotcha moment, and now the power has fluctuated over to your hands instead. And I mean, I don't understand this whole like sort of like inept pseudo idea of power that like people want. And it's the same thing like what you were saying before, author. It's like, people just feel like they can be buttholes now because they'll find people to defend themselves. And it's like there's a sense of power that they get out of that. And it's
Yeah.
today I'd say it's more things. It's funny because things toggle socially left and right and left and right. And I think a lot of that also goes with how I think it was, I don't remember if it was you or Doomer. I think it was Doomer saying that like, kids are just naturally going to like rebel against their parents. So it's like, way back when like the religious right were the ones that were in charge in like the 80s, the kids became like more, more liberal. They almost turned back. Like you had the hippie days where the parents were like conservative, and then it twisted over to where like the parents became liberal and then the kids were becoming more conservative, and then they grew up to be the religious right, and then the kids became more liberal, and now they grew up, and now there's like super liberal parents that are the ones that are acting like this, where they're kind of almost like, yeah, sexualizing their kids, getting their kids way too involved in things that they shouldn't be, and using them as almost like political tools. And to where now I was reading an article probably a year or so
Yeah.
ago where it was like,
You get five.
what's that?
You get 5 years, I think, in prison in Scotland if you object to your child getting having their body parts removed.
Oh God, yeah,
For-
yeah. Me and two were talking about that a lot.
Holy- like not to change the subject, but
No.
that like that is kind of crazy. Like here, I can talk about it, and I definitely, I think it's funny that all three of us don't have kids and we're talking about kids, but I would really be upset about it. And I think, but I don't even know here, like what the doctors would say or what would happen, and the whole thing. I don't even know I'm not even going to go there because that's a whole nother big bag of subject.
Yeah. You should watch. To be honest, you should watch. I don't know if you're familiar with Matt Walsh, his like pseudo documentary he did called "What Is a Woman," and
yeah, I saw it. It was pretty rad.
I actually really enjoyed it. I like Matt Walsh too. I think he's got like a subtle comedic take to a lot of things. He's very smart, but he's also
I think it's pretty funny.
Yeah.
I think he originally was a comedian.
Really,
yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty funny. Candace like dissed him, but also praised him like for just the other day. I thought that was kind of funny too. She was like, "This guy is the most." I don't know, what did she say? She said something about him. She was like, "He's the worst," or whatever. But it was almost, yeah, he is. And
it was like an admirable diss. It was like calling somebody like, "Oh, that person's such a piece of shit," but they mean it as a compliment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like most non-PC or something. I don't know what she said, but because he's very like he's very straightforward about this kind of thing that is going on, and he has very strong. He's very opinionated about
Yeah.
it, and people don't like that at all. They really don't care for it, and other people are like, yeah, that's pretty awesome, because he doesn't do it in a really like hateful kind of way. He does it in more of like a very manly comedy. Like
Yeah.
it's got kind of a a a,
Very,
a
very,
dad joke
yeah, very
sense
deadpan
about.
comedy.
Yeah, like yeah, that's what you'd call it. Yeah,
Yeah, it's very
and
deadpan.
he does well. He does it pretty well, I
Yeah.
think, and I admire it because it's it's funny, and I know I have friends that are would not agree. I'm just like, well, that's your thing, but
Yeah.
I like it. Pretty funny.
So how do you do you end up avoiding subjects like these with friends that you know will go off on you, or how do you handle
Well,
that?
that was part of the reason why I wanted to change to it. I mean, I think if people really wanted to figure out the Anon character, they probably could, but I wanted to move to kind of an Anon character and support the idea of free speech through an Anon character, because it protects you in a way from that, which is, because you can deal with people in person and be like, oh, cool, and sometimes you just have to tread lightly around certain subjects with certain people. Like, for instance, like I do a lot of work on construction, and you're around construction guys, and it can be like around a bunch of pirates with like, like what they're saying is like pretty ridiculous. But then, like I go try to be around some more like church people, and the whole thing has to shift, And so the idea of an Anon character is that you can really be who you really would be if society was. I personally try to be polite to people, but I want to be able to speak up about some things that I really don't agree with, like the whole. Well, I'm not even going to go into it, but there's a whole lot of things that have happened in the last 5 years that I'm really just not okay with at all. But a lot of my real life friends, I kind of went a different direction from them. And it's not even so much that I just don't want to deal with conflict. I'm not a very conflict person, and I don't want to get grief from people where they're like, oh, that sucks, and I'm not real big on that hype. Like, I think that's actually kind of bad, the hype that people are like, oh, look at me, and they get lots of attention and they're on Instagram and all that. And I'm like, I'm not really into that. I'm more of a private person, and I like that, but I do like to connect with people. So for me, that's why the Anon character is kind of cool, because I can sit here and bullshit with
Separation
you
of life
guys,
and internet.
and yeah, and I don't have to deal with some blowback with somebody that's like, oh, I don't agree with you at all. You're an idiot, and I don't have to fucking deal with that, or I don't have to deal with people like, oh, you're so cool. Who are you? Blah blah blah. And I've had to deal with both of those things in real life, and to be able to express myself without worrying about that, that's actually really nice. And I think what it also does is it protects speech, because people aren't influenced. They're not influenced by hype, and they're not influenced by fear, and they can be themselves. And I think that's a really good way to protect speech, because right now you're seeing all these movements in the world to fucking censor, cancel people, and all sorts of stuff. And it's just like, wait a minute.
Misinformation.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
It's so strange. Like, there's been this bifurcation of life where, like, before the internet, do you all also remember that it was not unusual to have friends that were not of the same feather, right?
Yeah,
that
100%.
would just
that was cool.
stay, but you would know that you would piss them off in saying whatever it is you're saying superficially, right? And they would superficially react with whatever, like, bullshit propaganda they had been brainwashed with, right? And back and forth. But it was like you still liked hanging out with each other. You felt safe doing it. And now there's this bifurcation. It's like there's that, online, you find these little communities, like you said. You can kind of stay anonymous. You can find your little factions. You can vent in your private little circles. But out in the real world, it's like you got to be, especially like in places like Scotland or England, like where they, you have the Twitter police and what have you. But it's just, which is the real world mixing with the internet, where those two meet, is a very ugly place very often. And this is also where whatever, the seeds of propaganda are sown, obviously. But did you notice in your life that it just became harder and harder just to meet a stranger and maybe just throw out some random kind of remark? Yeah, just that is a little edgy or a little risque, but
yeah.
And then slowly kind of got taken away from us.
We pumped to socially divided really badly, but not just, between one group and another, just amongst people in general. We're all just kind of like divided individually apart from each other.
Atomized.
Yeah. Well, I think we've also all gotten into this we've all gotten into this like ego where we always want to be right. It's come down like this, social media has kind of given, no more can somebody just like you it almost always turns into an argument or something that becomes out of control because nobody's willing to just go like, yeah, okay, I see your point. Here's my point. We'll just agree to disagree. I've literally gone through diatribes with people even online. I don't generally personally have a problem talking with anybody in real life. I kind of talk the way I know it sounds kind of stupid to say, but the way I talk online is generally the way I talk in real life with everybody, even at work. And me and my buddies always joke, like, we get away with murder. And it comes along with your level of comfort. So like you said, like you have to talk a different way around the construction workers than you do around people like inside. But yeah, I also think there's a happy medium between the two that you can sort of develop that can merge it all together. I mean, I'm not trying to like say anything, but I'm not trying to like toot my own horn. Let me put it that way, or try to say anything. But I tend to like have a good way to like bridge people, and I think it comes along with, like I said, how comfortable, not confident, because you should never be confident, but how comfortable you are saying what you're saying. And I think people, like anything else, if you say something and they think, if they even smell an ounce of fear or something in what you're saying, they're going to take that opportunity of power to attack. But if you're comfortable with it and you're just like, hey, I said this thing, fuck off. You know what I mean? And not in an angry way. It's just, I'd love to hear your opinion. I just don't really care enough, but I'd love to hear it. If they sense that comfort in what you're saying, they generally won't go at you because you almost put them in an uncomfortable position to where, shit, if I now create conflict with him, am I the bad one? Am I wrong? I don't want to be wrong. So, I mean, I think there's that. If you're watching what you say too much, you're gonna be giving away the idea of free speech. And I think that's what they're, me and Doomer used to talk about all this stuff in our old cast, where it's like, yeah, they're programming us almost to be this way. And it's like, I feel like they're programming us to, accept these things that we're looking at. Like, you're bad if you don't want to let your small children go into sexually orientated, situations. It's fine. You're making it weird. You know what I mean? It's like, no, I'm not. Like, you're the bad one here, and I'm comfortable saying this.
Well, I think you've experienced this, and I've experienced this as well. And you grew up being like kind of a lone white amongst blacks for a good chunk of your childhood, right?
Yeah, I was always usually in almost every situation the odd man out.
Yeah, and so I was also like that. So like my after school experience was that way. Mm-hmm. So and eventually you develop relationships with a race that isn't the same as your own. And you develop a rhythm of humor, you develop a rhythm of conversation, right? Mm-hmm. And you make friends and acquaintances. And then I found like at some point I would meet certain white people and I would use that same type of thing, or and I would be
Most importantly,
accused of being a whatever racist and all this, right? Did you find yourself in any situations like that where you thought like, I don't see how, like, I know my friends of this race would not have a problem listening to me speak this way, and yet with this other kind of people in my race, they call me bad words. They call me bad names for kind of speaking this way, and then they make you feel. They try to just erase that speech out of you and give you diatribes or whatever. You're like, are you kidding? This is ridiculous. Did you ever find yourself running into that where there's a point where you're like, oh, these worlds, like, it's very strange? And then I remember go back and tell like, man, this, white girl like really went off on me because I said this. I'm like, what? And so did you find yourself doing that at all?
Me?
Yeah, did you find yourself stuck in those situations? Oh, just because you had that similar experience growing up. I wasn't sure if there was that time when you just crossed over, you realized that, like, there's a subsect of white people that would tell you, because you're just talking about different groups and all, right? And how you're supposed to behave and who's going to limit your speech, and just the irony, right? That's all I'm trying to point out. You understand, right? Just the irony of like the kind of, let's say, privileged white woman telling you that you were,
what you can and can't say. What you can.
Yeah, about about the black people that love you or whatever. Do you know what I mean? That's
Well, I mean, I think that's just become an uppity part of like that piece and sect of society that it's like, it's. I don't know if I can go to I don't know what I could say to that above it. And actually, this is going to run out again in another 5 minutes. So after that, I'm probably going to end up. No, I'm probably going to end up calling it a night after that.
Yeah, so am I. Yeah, sorry if I
but I think
ate up too much trying to get to a certain point, but I'm trying to
I'm not worried about
say things in a way that makes sense, but also don't sound too committed in any direction that I wouldn't want to commit in.
Yeah, for all we know, I mean, all three of us have come from ideas, and even outside of race, like I said, I was always generally odd man out. So like even younger growing up, I definitely 100% probably went to one of the worst schools in my city, and I was like literally one of like 2 white kids in the whole school. So there was definitely a learning curve in that. But then there was a point where I went to a more closer, like linked demographically, you would say, for like a year or two. And at that point, I was just like the poor kid in a bunch of rich kids. You know what I mean? To where there was even a couple rich black kids, and like, I was still like the poor kid. You know what I'm saying? So, but I think at the same time, that also helps, as bad as or weird as it sounds, it helps build that character to make you comfortable saying the things that like you want to or you think you should say. And yeah, I think there's always going to be a sect, and I might not be answering this correctly, but there's always going to be that sect, and it's almost turning more into like, I think we just hear about it most when you get like an uppity white bitch like these people on the beach, and it's like, because it's fun to call them Karens and stuff like that. But there's always going to be a sect of people that want to control what you say and tell you shouldn't say this. And again, just like knowing,
or want to get outraged.
Yeah, they just
to
want
feel
to
that validated.
They're addicted to the anger and the vitriol. Like that's all it is. That's their endorphin. That's like their oh shit, what do you call it? That like meth activates. I can't remember.
Dopamine, serotonin.
Yeah, dopamine. That's their dopamine rush. Yeah. You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong, I understand it. I went through a phase where I was a big time rageaholic, and before I mellowed, and yeah, it does. It becomes addicting because you get that energy rush, and I think they don't even know they're doing it. They're just like, I want to be angry so bad about something, but I can't just be angry, so I've got to make it seem like I'm doing it for the benefit of society. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was say something about that earlier and I forgot, like the enragement algorithms, and where Chad was talking about, or maybe it was you, Nick, talking about older society back in the day where people weren't so harsh to each other, it seems like. And I'm wondering if that is one of the results of, kind of these enragement algorithms. Like they know that that's what
Mhm.
sells, so they promote it.
Oh,
Yeah,
100%.
rage baiting, doom
Oh,
scrolling.
well, Facebook
Yeah.
admitted it. Facebook said, yeah, we have algorithms that, because if you're angry, you get more clicks and you'll stay on the platform longer. And what's funny with that is when I just started doing this, I really try and find people on these platforms to come in and talk, because it's really funny how our minds are programmed. I've said this in all of them, and it's like I almost have to re-elaborate every single time just to get it out there. But our minds are programmed that when we're reading a comment, we instinctually give it the most animostic tone in our head, like it's a direct attack to your being, when the other person or you may not have intended it that way. So it's funny, and I think that's one of the reasons too why some of these platforms have like character limits, because it's not so you drab on, but it's so you have to get the most direct to the point comment out, which is always going to sound blunt and angry. That's just my point of
Yep.
view on it.
Yeah,
So
and
yeah,
lack nuance.
yes, they're feeding it, and we're eating it up. Like the only thing I have, to be honest, is this. I have the Twitter. I only got it years and years ago for a radio show called Opie and Anthony that used to be on, and then it just kind of like I just stuck with it, and I'm using it for this now. But I don't have Facebook, I don't have Instagram, I don't have TikTok. Of course, we're probably gonna have to look at some of that stuff, me and Doover, for our music, and that's
Hey,
we might have to do
hey,
that next week.
for having me on. I don't know how much longer we have, but I just want to say real quick, interrupt and say, I really appreciate you guys having me on, and to this
Yeah,
little,
thanks for coming.
and I think it's a good idea I think podcasts like this are great. I don't know anything about your whole thing, but it's good because people can express their different opinions and
Yeah.
try to connect in a more positive way, and not just like hey, these people are all stupid, because we know that people are stupid, but that might be part of their whole enragement algorithm. They're making
Yeah.
money off of us hating on each other.
100%.
And you can even learn something from stupid people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Broken clock's right twice a day. So, but it's we're actually gonna time out in about 30 seconds.
All right.
If you guys want to listen, I was gonna play one more video as the second thing I was gonna talk to, or I could actually, I'm gonna play it and then I'm gonna probably go on to it for next week, or next time I sign on, because I don't do this regularly. But yeah, maybe next week too. Me and Doomer, we can talk about the music thing. Since I didn't
Sounds good.
get to do it now. So, all right, man, I appreciate it, guys. This was a lot of fun. I'm glad to have the more the merrier
Yeah.
for me. And keep in
Yeah, it
touch,
went well.
dude. Oh shit, we lost him. I'm gonna have to get so. So I'm gonna play this really quick because I think this is utterly hysterical, and it goes to actually something that Doomer was mentioning earlier about Sweden and the gang rapes, and then what we were talking about just now today about watching your fucking goddamn kids and your daughters, because yes, there's people coming from other countries that have different ideas. I read stories in the UK, and I'm dying to get somebody from fucking Ireland, of all places, to come on to talk about their situation. There's people that I go with, follow on Twitter and stuff. I've almost had a few of them. I really want to interview somebody about it. But, there's people coming from different areas, and, there's been a couple stories I've read where these poor girls end up getting raped, and the guys who do it are borderline getting off with nothing, because they're saying things like, I didn't know it was wrong. Or there was just a case, I think it was Germany, where some poor girl, I think she was 14, and she was intoxicated and then gang raped for some god amount of time. And the judge, who was a woman, a liberal woman judge, gave the men like probation. And her reasoning was something along the lines of, well, you know what? They probably did it due to the stress of their dangerous journey. And I'm just going to say this here too. Sorry, but, and I probably said it before, I'm going to talk about it next week when I talk about this, or next time I come on. I'm not against the idea of, immigration. I think it should be done right. It should be done legally. If there is a situation where somebody does have to flee, and you need to start helping women and children, that is it. Women and children. Because what we're getting now is the emptying of asylums, we're getting the emptying of prisons, we're getting war criminals and things like that that are basically being shoved out of their countries. Basically, they're being given a chance to say, get out of our country because our prisons are full, and if we see you coming back, we're just going to kill you. Because why the hell else would every single one of these migrants be men? And how good of men can they be if they've left all their women home? Because if they're fleeing such a dangerous circumstance, that means they've left their women and children there. Oh, they're coming to send back for their families. No, they're not. So I say, if anybody comes up to the border, you stand there, and sorry, I'm very congested all of a sudden. We have troops there, and we have armed troops ready to shoot on sight if things become a problem. And they pan, and they go, woman, 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 small child, small child, small child, you guys come across. All the men stay here, and then they'll ask the female, did your husband come with you? Where is he? We'll try and find him, blah, blah, blah. Then, from there, that's when you start the process of like defining refugee and things like that. Because otherwise, if it's just men coming over here, they're probably not going to be the most beneficial thing to our society. But now it's getting so bad. This video's been making the rounds, and I think it's fucking hysterical.
If you have an extra room or suite in your home, please consider hosting a family.
No.
Safe housing and shelter is our most pressing need.
Fuck you.
Become a sponsor family.
No.
You can contact the Brazilian Workers Center for more information on how you can step up if you're willing to have an additional family be part of your family. If you're a local official, a college president, a business owner, or a faith leader with an available building or space in your community, please work with us to offer it as a shelter site. If you're a social service provider, please consider becoming an emergency assistance homeless shelter provider. Our resources are stretched thin there as well. And if you're a hotel or a motel owner, consider opening it up for emergency assistance. If you're a landlord or a property owner, we can use you too. We can connect you with service providers to help transition families into permanent housing. Everyone has something they can offer. Most importantly,
no, we don't. That's the dumbest shit. And you know what the thing is everybody who's going to sit there and say that we have to help all these people are going to be the last ones to fucking line up. They're going to be the last ones lining up to help. They're not going to let people in their fucking house. So eat shit. I have 2 notifications. Whoops. So, I don't know if we finished the video.
Just a bathing suit. We should just
Well, it's because I have a
distance
son.
ourselves
You
from
don't
each
have a
other,
son,
and then
that's why.
you can.
I'm just saying my son doesn't need to stare at her fucking ass. My son needs to stare
You
at
gotta
her.
look.
She's got
All right, everybody. Yeah, thank you for watching. Thumbs up, do whatever, I don't know, the social media things are. And then if you have a good topic or if you want to be on, just contact me on Twitter. I'd love to have people of opposing point of views. If you're somebody who wants to defend the woman who was letting her daughter run around in a bikini thong, or I'm assuming bikini thong, I don't think they make one-piece thongs. That would probably be extremely uncomfortable. But not that I can't assume thongs are comfortable. But if you want to defend the woman who was recording, let me know and I'll spend the first few minutes the next time and I'll make a special date and you can call in and defend it. I'm not going to attack you. I think that, we all have different opinions on things. So everybody have a good night. I'm going to smoke up and watch some Y-Files and RKG.